The guy who just pulled up in a BMW? 47 in his checking account. The woman at the office with the designer bag that costs more than your rent? Her emergency fund doesn't exist. The guy at the bar explaining his investment portfolio? More credit card debt than actual investments. The influencer showing off a penthouse view and room service? 3 months behind on rent. And here's the part that should genuinely disturb you. Americans now owe $1.28 trillion in credit card debt. The average household carries over $100,000 in total debt. And yet, luxury car sales keep climbing. Designer brand revenue keeps growing. Social media keeps overflowing with people flaunting wealth they absolutely do not have. Something doesn't add up. Here's what's actually happening. A massive number of people have figured out how to look wealthy while being completely, quietly, desperately broke. They've mastered the appearance of success while building nothing underneath. Real wealth whispers. Fake wealth screams. And once you know the signs, you will see fake rich everywhere. Today we're going through all 10 signs, one by one. No sugarcoating. And by the end, you'll not only spot it in others. You'll make sure you never become it yourself. Walk through any parking lot and you'll spot this immediately. A bare-bones Mercedes with manual seats and 0 upgrades. An Audi with the smallest engine option and nothing extra. A base model BMW with more plastic inside than a budget sedan. These cars exist because manufacturers know exactly what's happening. People want the badge on the hood, not the actual car. Here's the math that exposes the trap completely. A fully loaded Honda Accord costs roughly the same as a base model luxury sedan. The Honda has better features, more comfortable interior, superior reliability, and dramatically lower maintenance costs. But the fake rich don't want a Honda. They want other people to see the 3-pointed star in traffic. And it gets worse after the purchase. That entry-level luxury car comes with luxury everything, premium fuel instead of regular, higher insurance, more expensive parts, more expensive servicing. The base model Mercedes costs significantly more to own than a fully loaded Toyota, not just upfront every single month. For years. Here's the number that destroys this strategy completely. Someone pretending to be rich spends 20 to 30% of their income on looking wealthy. Someone actually wealthy spends 2 to 5% on those same categories. That difference, compounded over decades, is the difference between retiring early and dying broke in a least. BMW. The fake rich buy the status symbol first and hope wealth follows. It never does. You know this person? Every single conversation somehow circles back to money. And always in a way that makes them look successful. You mention a vacation. They explain their travel rewards strategy. You share a friend's promotion. They pivot to their own achievements within 2 sentences. You're literally discussing pizza toppings and they find the angle. Oh yeah, I used to eat that before I started making real money. People genuinely secure about their finances don't need to constantly remind everyone how well they're doing. The reminder is for themselves, not you. But here's the specific tell that gives them away every time. They talk about money they're about to make. Never money they've actually made. I've got a huge deal closing next month. Once this investment pays off, everything changes. I'm working on something massive, always future tense. Because the present doesn't match the image. Another tell, confusing revenue with profit. Someone brags their business does $500,000 a year. Their actual take-home? $50,000. Still decent, but not the flex they're presenting. The exaggeration reveals the insecurity. The truly wealthy are almost always private about finances, not because they're secretive, because they have nothing to prove to anyone. Someone carrying a $5,000 bag with $2,000 in savings. A luxury watch on the wrist of someone with a maxed-out credit card. This happens constantly. The purchase isn't a celebration of success. It's a costume for success that hasn't arrived yet. There is a rule that cuts through all the noise. If you can't afford to buy it twice, you can't actually afford it. If a single purchase represents 2 or 3 months of income, that's not wealth. That's living dangerously above your means while constructing an illusion of prosperity. And it gets worse. I've seen people finance designer purchases, paying interest on a handbag, making monthly payments on a watch. The item depreciates, the debt accumulates. By the time it's paid off, they've spent 30% more than the sticker price on something worth half what they originally paid. People with actual wealth rarely make purchases that jeopardize their financial foundation. Their luxury items represent a tiny fraction of their net worth, not a significant chunk of their monthly budget. Whatever you've done, they've done it better. Whatever you bought, theirs was more expensive. Whatever you accomplished, their version was more impressive. You get promoted. They got a bigger promotion. You went on vacation. They spent 2 weeks in the south of France flying business class. You buy a watch. They explain in detail why their mechanical movement is superior, and you can hear the difference in how the second hand ticks. Picture this. Someone at a dinner party shares that they just closed on their first home. Before anyone can even congratulate them, the one-upper jumps in. That's great, but you really should have waited for a bigger place. When I bought my first property, I made sure it was at least 4 bedrooms, because anything smaller doesn't appreciate properly. The excitement drains from the room. The psychology here is completely transparent. One-upping comes from insecurity, not confidence. Someone genuinely successful can celebrate your wins without feeling threatened. They don't need to redirect attention because their self-worth doesn't depend on being superior in every single exchange. Real wealth allows someone to be genuinely happy for others. Fake wealth requires constant comparison, constant conquest. The curated feed of luxury experiences, expensive purchases, and lifestyle content designed to project wealth, whether or not that wealth actually exists. Here's the uncomfortable truth about social media that nobody says directly. Spend $1,000 at the mall with me gets 1 million views. Watch me add $1,000 to my emergency fund gets ignored. The first feels aspirational. The second feels boring. This creates a perverse incentive. People learn that projecting wealth generates attention regardless of whether the wealth is real. So they perform prosperity while building absolutely nothing. Nobody posts themselves doing dishes. Nobody films their budget spreadsheet sessions. Nobody shares the Saturday they spent at home because they're trying to save money. Social media shows highlights. The fake rich need you to believe the highlights are their everyday existence. And here's the layer underneath that. Actual wealthy people maintain minimal social media presence. They don't need the validation. And they certainly don't need strangers knowing their financial business. This one has become so normalized that people don't even recognize it as a red flag anymore. When you lease a vehicle, you're repaying for the steepest depreciation years of a car's life. And then you give it back. A $50,000 car worth $30,000 after 3 years means you refinancing $20,000 of pure depreciation, plus interest, taxes, and fees. Then you return it and start the whole thing over again. Lease, return, lease, return. Perpetual payments. Zero equity, forever. Someone who leases continuously for 20 years has made hundreds of thousands of dollars in payments and owns absolutely nothing at the end, but the monthly payment fits their budget. And the new car badge fits their image. That's the entire appeal. The person in the leased luxury sedan looks successful. What doesn't show is that they're building zero equity, paying premium insurance, and locked into payments with nothing to show when it ends. Leasing is one of the most expensive ways to have a car over a lifetime. But it lets the fake rich afford the appearance of a car they could never actually purchase. If someone is carrying fake designer goods, they are literally advertising that they're pretending to be something they're not. And here's the brutal irony. A decent knockoff bag costs $200 to $300 for that exact same money. You could buy a genuinely well-made bag from a brand that isn't pretending to be something else. Real leather, quality construction, original design, just without the famous logo. But that's not what the fake rich want. They don't care about quality or craftsmanship. They care about the perception that comes with a specific logo. So they'll pay $200 for a poorly made fake rather than $200 for a well-made original. Because the fake carries a name people recognize. And here is the final insult. The people they trying to impress can spot the fake from across the room. The stitching is wrong. The leather is off. The hardware feels cheap. You've paid money to carry around evidence of your own pretense. Not the obvious scams. Those are easy to spot. A slightly faster than normal schemes that sound almost plausible. Forex trading, dropshipping, crypto day trading, options strategies, multi-level marketing. Some revolutionary system that's going to change everything if you just get in now. A tiny fraction of people succeed at these. The vast majority lose money. But the fake rich love talking about these opportunities because they operate entirely in future tense. They're not discussing what they've built. They're discussing what they're about to build. Here's how it always plays out. Someone discovers a new opportunity. Goes all in, talks about it constantly, projects massive confidence. 6 months later, they've lost money. But they never mention that part. They've already moved on to the next opportunity. Equally confident, equally vocal. A trail of failed ventures they never acknowledge. Always chasing the next thing that's definitely going to work this time. Real wealth is built slowly, boringly, over years and decades. But slow and boring doesn't match the identity the fake rich have constructed for themselves. Different from one-upping, this person actively criticizes your financial decisions and tells you what you should be doing instead. You mention you're happy with your apartment. They say you should have upgraded by now. You're driving a reliable used car. They question why you haven't financed something newer. You're saving aggressively. They tell you that money should be in whatever they're invested in. The advice is always unsolicited, and it always points toward whatever choices they've made, regardless of whether those choices make any sense for your situation. Here's what's actually happening underneath. They need to justify their own decisions. If you're succeeding with a different approach, it threatens their narrative. So they criticize your path to validate theirs. Someone who genuinely understands money knows that different strategies work for different people in different situations. The fake rich need everyone around them to confirm they're doing things correctly, because deep down, they're not sure they are. Too many logos, too much jewelry, too strong cologne. A walking advertisement for luxury brands rather than a person who happens to own nice things. They've seen wealthy people in movies and decided to cosplay the aesthetic. Everything screams money, nothing whispers it. Here's something worth sitting with. Look at photos of actual billionaires on ordinary days. Not at galas. Just living their lives. Mark Zuckerberg wears the same gray t-shirt constantly. Warren Buffett drives a modest car and lives in the same house he bought decades ago. Many of the wealthiest people on earth, you'd walk past them on the street without a second glance. They have nothing to prove. Their identity isn't tied to what strangers think of their outfit. They could buy anything, so they don't feel the need to buy everything. The fake rich operate from the exact opposite psychology. They feel they have everything to prove. So every item becomes a statement. Every accessory becomes evidence. Every outfit becomes a press release. And the louder the display, the more desperate the attempt. Here's the deepest truth underneath all 10 signs. The fake rich optimize for how things look to others. Every financial decision passes through one filter. Will this impress people? The actually wealthy optimize for how things work for themselves. Does this purchase make sense given my goals? Does this decision move me toward actual freedom? One approach builds wealth, the other bleeds it. Fake wealth is a performance that gets more expensive over time. The luxury car needs maintaining. The designer wardrobe needs updating. The lifestyle needs sustaining. Every month, more money flows toward maintaining an image, while nothing flows toward building anything real underneath. The person pretending to be rich often ends up poorer than when they started. The effort of appearing wealthy prevents the accumulation of actual wealth. They're running on a treadmill that speeds up the longer they stay on it. Working harder and harder just to maintain an illusion that delivers nothing. And here's the question that actually matters, not about the people around you. About you. Are you making financial decisions based on what genuinely serves your future? Or are you spending to maintain an image that's slowly bankrupting you? Real wealth doesn't need anyone to notice it. It doesn't require validation. It exists whether or not anyone else sees it. The goal was never to look rich. The goal is to actually be free. One path is expensive, exhausting, and leads nowhere. The other builds quietly, until one day you realize you have options most people are only pretending to have. Choose carefully.